Hello, Hofstra fans, and welcome to Sports Beat. I'm your host, Jason Weick, and we have an action-packed show for you tonight. We will kick things off with a look back at March Madness. Next, we'll turn to the fairways. We recap the Masters tournament. After that, we stay on the course as we are joined by star Hofstra golfer Jaxon Hummel to discuss his season so far. We then keep our eye on Hofstra with our Hofstra Pride Top 5 of the month. And to wrap up, we will stay with the Pride for our Pride Weekly Update and crown our Athlete of the Month. Don't go anywhere, Sports Beat fans, because Sports Beat starts right now. The annual NCAA March Madness Tournament has come and gone, but still has the sports world buzzing. Here to break it down with me are Dylan, Brett, and Dallas Jackson. We have so many moments. I mean, we could talk about this for days if we wanted to, but I think we could just jump right in. In this tournament, what was the biggest surprise?
Man, I guess for me, it's got to be the NC State Wolfpack and what they did on the men's side with the big ticket DJ Burns and company. I mean, this was a team that in that ACC tournament was 6 inches away from their season being over. A 14-loss team with absolutely no shot in an at-large bid, winning at the buzzer against a team like Virginia, going on to top teams like Duke on the way to the conference title. And then, as you know, once you get to the NCAA tournament, anything could happen. And this team really proved to us all why March was so amazing as an 11 seed.
In a really similar frame to Dylan, but switching it over to the women's side, I would also like to applaud NC State's women's program. Only the second time in school's history to reach a Final Four, the first time since 1998, and the way there was not a cakewalk. They had some heavy hitters in programs such as Stanford with Cameron Brink, Tennessee with Rikia Jackson, and just to lose to South Carolina, the eventual championship team, this is a great season for NC State to hang their hat on.
Well, we're talking about the state of Carolina, and we can't talk about Carolina without talking about the South Carolina Gamecocks, a historic season where they were able to run the gauntlet, go undefeated, and win the national title. But we also had another very impressive season, the UConn Huskies winning back-to-back for the first time since the Florida Gators. So I just have to know, what is more impressive, to go undefeated and win the national championship, or to win back-to-back?
It's got to be the 38-0 season that South Carolina just put on. I mean, not only did they go undefeated and beat some really solid teams on the way to the title, but they returned 0 starters from last year's team that fell short in the Final Four. And by the way, on the road to that title, they happened to run into the greatest women's college basketball player of all time on Caitlin Clark and ran right through her. I really think that Dawn Staley cemented herself as one of the all-time greats with this run.
Once again, to completely agree with Dylan on this point, you cannot deny the absolute star-studded year that South Carolina has had for themselves. You know, coming into the year, they were ranked only 6, which I feel like they were criminally underrated in a lot of the rankings that we saw. And as Dylan mentioned, no starters from the previous year to come back and win it all. Not only did they have an undefeated regular season, they won the national championship. There's no better title to win and have a season such as that and say any other team's better than them.
Well, Dylan, you echoed her name. Truly the woman of the moment right now, Caitlin Clark. And I need to know, with all the buzz, all the hoopla, the draft has now happened, is Caitlin Clark the best college basketball prospect of our lifetime?
By far. I mean, I feel almost unworthy even echoing her name on this show. I mean, this is a girl who transcends the sport that she plays. I mean, so often do we have athletes that come around and do stuff like that. I'm talking about the Bradys. I'm talking about the LeBrons, where they become this worldwide phenomenon. This is a girl who sold out her jersey on draft night, had a combined 33 million people, almost as many viewers as Sports Beat, watch her 2 Final Four games. It's special what she's doing. This isn't going to happen for a long time, so you might as well sit back and enjoy it.
And again, to completely agree with Dylan, Caitlin Clark has put women's basketball on the map in a way where a lot of fans like myself have known, but for the casual viewer, they haven't known a name such as Caitlin Clark to come through women's basketball and change the game the way she has. And as Dylan mentioned, selling out your jersey on draft night is an amazing thing to have, but additionally, being able to draw 18.7 million viewers for Iowa versus South Carolina to make the women's final the first time it has ever surpassed the men's program in those numbers. She's the only person that I think has done it in history, and we might have to see if anybody could do it again.
It's been a real joy to watch, and definitely the bar of expectations is high. I gotta know now, in either tournament, men's or women's, what was the best moment for you?
I mean, for someone who loves March as much as I do, there's so many to pick from, but I'll go all the way to the first round of the men's tournament with what Oakland did against Kentucky. I mean, you got Jack Golke out there making 10 threes, a guy that looks like he just got done working his shift at a 9 to 5, knocks out Kentucky's $10 million team. It was such a big moment, you know, for the mid-major schools in this era of NIL and the transfer portal and the rich getting richer. This was a huge win for the little guy. And, you know, seeing a guy like Jack Golke go out there and absolutely shock the world, put himself on the map, it meant so much, especially to schools like here at Hofstra.
To keep it on, as I've been saying with the women's programs and the women's tournament, seeing the phenomenal play of Juju Watkins out of USC has been wonderful to see. All-time leading scorer among freshmen in the NCAA D1 history, and eclipsed that in the loss against UConn with 29 points. I think she's an amazing tournament for herself.
Certainly so much excitement in both tournaments. To be able to talk about it just this short a time, it's unfortunate, but again, I'm sure we'll talk about it for many years to come. Well, that'll do it for our March Madness discussion. Now, let's turn our attention to the golf course as Olivia Hillstead has your Masters update.
Thanks, Jason. This year's battle for the green jacket came down to the final day with storylines and more at Augusta National Golf Course this past weekend. Bryson DeChambeau led the field after the first round, fighting through rain and adverse conditions to finish 7 under to lead the field after 18 holes. Unfortunately for DeChambeau, that would be his only round under par in 4 days, as he finished tied for 6th at 2 under par. On the other side of the leaderboard, Tiger Woods, a 5-time green jacket winner, made the cut for the 24th consecutive time, the most in Masters history. On Sunday, it came down to a 4-horse race with 1 through 4 in the leaderboard being separated by just 3 strokes. Ludwig Oberg, Max Homa, Colin Morikawa, and Scottie Scheffler were all tied at 6 under through 7 holes, setting up a signature finish at Augusta. The notorious Amen Corner made its presence known on Sunday, as it would separate Scheffler from the rest of the pack. Oberg, Homa, and Morikawa would all double bogey at least 1 hole on the back 9 as Scheffler rattled off 3 straight birdies on holes 12 through 14 to separate himself from the field for good. Scheffler ended up shooting a 68 to secure his 2nd green jacket in 3 years and his 3rd win of the 2024 PGA season. Scheffler's 2nd career win at the Masters puts him in an exclusive group of 18 golfers who have been able to capture multiple green jackets. With your Masters update, I'm Olivia Hillstead. SportsBeat will be back with more right after this.
Get it, slip it, cuff it, check it. High blood pressure silently affects millions of Americans. Staying on top of your blood pressure is as simple as these 4 easy steps. Self-monitoring is power. Visit manageyourbp.org to learn more.
Welcome back to Sports Beat. I'm Antonio Schoenhardt, and I am now joined by men's golf player Jaxon Hummel, who is off to an electrifying start this season. Jaxon, first of all, thank you for coming on to the show today. And let's just start off with the glory days back in time. When was the first time you picked up a club, and when did you realize that this is a sport that you wanted to pursue?
I picked up the club when I was like 4 years old. My dad was a golf coach, so he kind of put it in my hands right away. And from there, I kind of just fell in love with it. I played a lot of sports growing up, but I would say I focused on golf around 8th, 9th grade. Figured that at that point, I could do something with it after high school, so I stuck with it.
All right, pretty solid. And as I know, your dad is also an avid golfer, so I'm pretty sure he's very happy that you chose to go down that route. Now, I want to get into your time here at Hofstra. Your freshman year, you averaged about 78 strokes per round. Now you're down to around 76. What do you do to continue to put up the good work?
I feel like since the beginning of my time here, I've really focused on the mental game, focusing on what I can control and not really playing outside of myself. And I also feel like just naturally, as you mature, you figure out how to handle things better, balance, work life or golf life, I guess you could say in this case. And yeah, over 3 years, I've really learned how to manage it all.
Time management, and what many call the crux of college now. As you, of course, know, golf is a very mental and fundamental sport. So what goes into, consistently practicing your mechanics to make sure that everything's up to par? And I'm sure you're going to like that part.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like fundamentally not much has changed since I got here. It's really just making sure things are staying consistent and making sure I don't get outside of myself. But mentally, I've worked a lot on improving on and off the course, but mostly on just staying within myself and not holding on to the bad and looking at the good more than the bad. And that keeps me optimistic and positive on the golf course.
A right mindset can go very far, and someone who helps you with that mindset is Coach Elliott. So speak about him for a minute. How does he inspire you both off the course and on the course?
Yeah, Joe's a great guy. I haven't heard many people have say a bad word about him. I think on the golf course, he knows how to handle each individual very well. I think he knows how to go up to someone and realize how they're feeling in that moment and handle it the way that he always handles it, and how he thinks will get the most out of the person. And off the golf course, he's just a beauty, like just a great guy. Just love hanging out with him, just talking shop, doing whatever. So yeah, he's a great guy.
Shout out Coach Elliott.
Yeah.
So now we talked about the coaching staff. Let's talk about the players on the squad. How would you say you guys mesh, outside of golf? Do you guys chill with each other? How is it like, being on a golf team?
Yeah, it's cool. It's different from a lot of sports. We kind of are isolated out there, so we don't really have a lot of like teamwork on the golf course per se. But off the golf course, we're pretty close. We all hang out most weekends, hang out all the time. And on the road, it's always fun to just spend a weekend with the boys or just hang out. So yeah, we're pretty close.
Always got to chill with the boys. You already know how it is. You're a senior on the squad. How would you say you help and inspire others and set the proper example?
I feel like I'm pretty hands-off on the golf course. Like I don't really try to get in anyone's way in how they play or how they handle their philosophy of the game or whatever. So I mainly focus on off the golf course, making sure we're staying involved in the Hofstra community and making sure that the faculty thinks highly of us and we show up on time and we show up the right way and we handle what we need to off the golf course so that we can succeed on the golf course as well.
So I want to continue on the topic of being inspiring. In order for you to set a good example for others, someone had to set an example for you. So are there maybe a player or two that came before you that really set that example?
Yeah, just off the top of my head, Alec Aronson is a guy that I looked up to my freshman year. He showed me how to handle Joe, Coach Elliott, and how he likes certain things done. So I really look up to him my freshman year.
So stepping away from Hofstra now, and it's always good to have people to look up to, of course. And so I want to ask you, outside of Hofstra, who do you look up to? Golf player, anyone? My golf game and mentality, I try to model after Brooks Koepka. He seems to have a pretty carefree attitude, but if you really look into him, he cares a lot about the game and he cares what people think of him, and I'd like to model myself after that. That's great to hear. And just a quick question before we go, because I asked this to everyone. If you had to pick two people to go on a golf outing with, who are you picking and why?
Two people, that's tough. I would probably say Brooks Koepka, and I would say my dad, but that doesn't count, so I'll say Anthony Kim.
All right, well, I think those are great answers, Jaxon. Once again, thank you so much for joining us here on Sports Beat. And, shout out to your team. We wish them well with the rest of the season. As for Sports Beat, we'll be right back.
Hofstra fans, it's your favorite time of the week, the Pride Top 5. Now, we have tons of plays to go over. Our producers were hard at work to narrow it down to just 5. But without further ado, let's kick it off with our top 5. Here's your Pride Top 5. Let's go. Number 5. This is a really tremendous play here from men's lacrosse. Sam Lutvi. Look at the footwork, the dedication. Come on, you can put a brick wall and net right there, and you're not going to stop him. Again, you see here, he's looking almost like a basketball player as he gets to that open part. And just with the laser beam, he puts there past the goalie. Him and his team are high. 15 goals in the year, his career high. Good for him. Number 4, we go to women's lacrosse. 6-0 to start the year. They're on fire. And watch this play here. That ball's on fire, and so's her stick as she throws it across the field. That's Melissa Scanoni. Watch this here, the physicality, getting down in the trenches. She says, I'm a woman on a mission, and I won't be stopped. Throws the stick over. She don't need that. That was her 3rd of the game for a hat trick. Number 3, Alex McCoy. We go to Elon at Latham Park. Oh, yeah, that's a moonshot. Look at that ball. I think that would go out in most MLB ballparks. That was his 7th of the year. He's batting .301 right now. If you're a pitcher, you're just sitting there, you're scratching your head. You're like, what can I throw this guy after he just absolutely demolishes a ball like that? Again, watch this. Right up into the stratosphere. You know, we were talking about that lunar eclipse the other day and how the moon came in front of the sun. Well, I think actually it might have been Alex McCoy's baseball after that home run, which he sent way up into the night. You can see the disappointment right there on the pitcher. Now over to softball. This is a great play here that you can't teach. Look at that diving catch right there by Mackenzie Fitzgerald. You know, the other people are on base, they're trying around. It's like, you're not going to be going because the inning is over. And you see here, again, diving catch. I couldn't make that play, and that's why it's number 2, but it's not as good as number 1. Number 1, the long-awaited play here. Watch this hit. Booyah. That is gone. Now, this is taking place in Brooklyn at LIU, but I think that ball went all the way to Manhattan. That was Gabriella Sultan. You'd call her the Sultan of SWAT. Now, here's where I'm really going to blow your mind, folks. You're not going to believe this. You see a shot like that, you're like, oh, she's got to be a senior, a grad student. She's been playing for a long time, right? She's a freshman. That's her first home run of her collegiate career. An absolute cannon that she fired right there against LIU. That's all we have for your Pride Top 5. You heard me there. My voice got a little hoarse because I was so excited for you. But we're going to shift our focus now and take an in-depth look at the Hofstra men's lacrosse team, who are led by the latest United States men's senior national team, their head coach, Seth Tierney. Let's take a look.
I got introduced to the game at 23 Blossom Lane in Levittown, New York. My uncle was a professional lacrosse player at the time for the Long Island Tomahawks across the street here at Nassau Coliseum. He brought home a lacrosse stick for me, casually removed the first baseman's mitt because I was a left-hander. I played first base. It's a sport that if you get bit by the lacrosse bug, it kind of stays with you. And for several years, I was every night baseball, lacrosse, and then at one point in time, you had to choose, and baseball lost. All of them brought something different to the table, right? You know, you always remember your first coaches because it was that special. And then there were your high school coach, Jim Casper, Sean Smith. Those are the guys that really helped me with the game and allowed me to grow and kept me disciplined. And I really appreciated, everything that those guys did for me. Yeah, coaching is a little bit like golf. You never take the same shot twice. Well, every team, every day is different. Each player is different. And you need to find the formula to approach each of them, players and teams. So I remember coaching my first game out here against Brown University, and it ended up being a win. Ended up staying here for a couple of years, and then an opportunity opened up. Dave Petramala just had gotten the job, and we were teammates, and he took a chance on me. and I ended up being the offensive coordinator at Johns Hopkins. We were fortunate got a chance to win a national championship in 2005. Stayed there in 2006, and then in 2007, the opportunity to come here as the head coach kind of surfaced. Got a call from the athletic director and met with some people, and the rest is history. The thing that keeps me in coaching is certainly the relationships with the players, the relationships with the staff. When you do accomplish something, it's wonderful. It doesn't last very long because you're on to the next challenge, but those letters, the text messages, the phone calls, I get it now. You know, I didn't understand then, but I'm doing really well in my job. I'm a tremendous father, you know, and when they credit you a little bit about them learning about life, it's a pretty wholesome feeling. You know, coaching Ryan, it started in Maryland when we were down and coaching at Hopkins, and it didn't go well in the beginning, to be honest with you. I had to learn a lesson from him. You know, I was coaching at Hopkins at the time, and they wanted me to be an assistant coach for his team, and I couldn't. I never walked through the door of going from coaching Hopkins to coaching, you know, a Timonium rec league, a Lutherville rec league that he was on. And I would hold him, you know, accountable as a coach's son. That usually happens. And he quit, you know, and I had to take a step back and go, I don't want this. I can't impact his life this way. So I said, no, but I quit. You know, let me take a step back and you enjoy lacrosse. If you enjoy it, I want you to play it. And I apologized to him, you know, at maybe 8 years old, and that's all 7 years old. So after a year or two, he asked if I can come back on the staff and go from there, and I had learned my lesson. You know, I know it's weird to say, but he probably put me in timeout for a little bit, and then I learned how to communicate and connect with your own son. And from there, things blossomed. It was always in the backyard. It was always a stick in the hand. It was always playing in the basement and doing these shooting contests and always having a catch. And you know, he's pretty special. And it doesn't end with him. You know, the other fierceness and toughness in our family comes from, you know, my daughter, or Ryan's sister, Erin, who was the captain of the women's team here at Hofstra and was just, you know, a fabulous defender. Never felt pain. Didn't take much from other people. There's so many people that I want to thank. It's got to start with my family. You know, my wife, my children, Ryan and Erin. I couldn't thank them enough. I can't do what I do without them. It just doesn't work. It would be a huge missing ingredient in what goes on. Certainly my extended family, all my aunts, my uncles, my mom, my mother-in-law, everybody in regards to that. And then all of the great players that I've coached both at Hopkins and Hofstra. And when I mean great players, I mean every player, because they have a great memory with me, not the ones that were just fabulous on the field. The effort that it takes to be a great coach is 24/7, walking out on that field every day with a whistle around my neck and spending time with those young men and knowing that I'm helping mold them. It's who I am.
Special thank you to Coach Tierney and the men's lacrosse team. Staying with the Pride, here is Kenny Forman with your Pride Weekly Update.
Thanks, Jason. The semester is beginning to come down to the wire, but the Pride has continued to roll on so far in the CAA. So let's get right into it. The softball team travels to Delaware to take on the dominant Blue Hens this weekend. Delaware has dominated so far this season and currently holds a 16-2 record in CAA play and a 31-8 overall record. Hofstra softball has continued to struggle to get their championship form as they sit in 5th place in the conference. Game times are set for 5 p.m. on Friday, 3 p.m. on Saturday, and 1 p.m. on Sunday. Back in Hempstead, the baseball team looks to get back on track as the Pride takes on the Campbell Fightin' Campbells in a 3-game series. The Pride have struggled throughout the month of April and will look to the powerful bat of Alex McCoy to get Hofstra back to their winning ways. The boys in blue take on a Campbell team that currently has continued to bounce back and forth between the win and loss column. Pitch times are set for 2 p.m. on Friday, 1 p.m. on Saturday, and 12 p.m. on Sunday. Staying on the island, the men's lacrosse team takes on the Hampton Pirates this Saturday. The Pride has failed to recapture the fire they possessed in their first 4 games as they have struggled to stay in the win column. Hampton has also struggled this season as they have yet to win a game and have been outscored by 52 points in their last 3 matchups. Game time is set for 1 p.m. Heading down south, the men's tennis team looks to bring home some championship gold as they compete in the CAA Championship Tournament in Williamsburg, Virginia. The 10-seeded Pride has their work cut out for them as they will take on the 7-seeded Drexel Dragons. The Pride is coming off a win against the Monmouth Hawks and will look to extend their season as they hope to advance to face the 2-seeded Delaware Blue Hens, who have a 15-3 overall record this season. Match time is set for 12 p.m. tomorrow, with matchups continuing throughout the weekend until Sunday. For more information on schedules, live streams, and more, visit gohofstra.com.
Hey Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry, I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Can birds draw pictures?
I don't have an answer for that.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
Welcome back to Sports Beat. Joining me once again to crown our Athlete of the Month are none other than Dylan, Brett, and Dallas Jackson. So with a campus full of tremendous athletes, you only can pick one. Who are your Athletes of the Month?
Man, Jason, you know, I am quite frankly running out of superlatives to describe what Julia Apsell is doing on the softball team right now. A 1.5 ERA on the season, set a school record with 5 consecutive wins on a 5-game win streak for the Pride. That's something that hasn't happened here in 10 years. It is absolutely historic what she's doing right now.
With full respect to Dylan and Julia Apsell and the softball program here at Hofstra, I would have to give it to Nikki Manella on women's lacrosse. You know, CA Rookie of the Week for the 3rd time this season, twice alone in the month of April. And as you can see, stats don't lie. So if we want to bring it to this past weekend, 11 points in games on Friday and Sunday, and she's just had an incredible month for herself.
I'm going to have to go with your take, D-Jax, with Nikki Manella. Again, the team that's 6-0 right now. They clinched their ticket to the CAA Championship, and I think they're going to be a lot of trouble in the postseason. We talk about them all day, but we're out of time. So that's all that we have for this edition of Sports Beat. But before we leave, we have many thanks to go around. Our panelists this evening were Dylan, Brett, and Dallas Jackson. Olivia Hillstead and Kenny Forman brought you updates on the Pride and the ongoing Masters Tournament. A special thank you to Jaxon Hummel for joining our very own Antonio Schoenhardt live in studio. And another thank you to the men's lacrosse team and Coach Tierney. I'm your host, Jason Weick. And remember, Hofstra fans, to always roar with pride.